Alright, I wanted to explain this to you. I kind of reviewed this and I didn't really explain what I should have. On your carburetor you have these two little jets. This is for the low side. That's the one right here. The one on the left is the low and the one is on the right is the high. So what you do, this is your idle set screw. You back that off till it's all the way backed off. It's not even touching. And then you adjust this jet, low speed jet, until the idle is just starting the idle slow, but it still runs. Now for a 4-cylinder or for a 4-cycle engine like a lawnmower or 4-cycle engine, you back off to the idle set screw. On carburetors that are adjustable, you can get in there with a screwdriver and adjust the low side until you get the lowest RPM, that the motor doesn't stall out just a little bit over where it's going to stall. You turn it just a little bit more, nice smooth idle. Now on a 2-cycle it's different. You get to the point where you've got that smooth idle and then you adjust it up a little bit more. Because it's a 2-cycle, it has to idle a little bit higher than a 4-cycle because you have oil mixture in there, and if you set it too low, it will load up the spark plug and the spark plug will get wet. So make sure you set that low speed a little bit higher. So after I get this set, the low speed, it's 2-cycle, and then a little bit more, then I take in and I turn my set screw until the idle just starts to change a little bit, and then I back it off. You just want that to just touch the throttle circuit, because if you turn the idle screw in, which is this big one, if you turn that in, if you try to set your idle through this big screw, it moves the butterfly in there, which is that little thing right there. See this little thing that moves that butterfly, and you don't want that butterfly. You want this idle to be, there's an idle circuit in there. You want it to be dripping gas in there. You don't want to use the throttle to set your idle speed. Same on a car. You don't want to use the throttle adjustment screw, idle screw. You need to adjust your jets. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense. If not, there's probably some YouTube videos out there you could watch. Then on the high speed, I open up the throttle all the way open, and then I adjust this till I get the highest RPM, and that's where I leave it set. I went out a couple times to run it. I didn't change the spark plug in this. This has had the original plug in it, and the original plug, I had WD-40 in there, so that plug was getting kind of wet. So it was stammering and kind of stuttering for a while till I got that plug all cleaned out. And then you see me come back a couple times to adjust that high-speed jet to. Once you get that high-speed set and the low-speed set, you shouldn't have to mess with it anymore. So that's why I kept coming back. So now when I go to put this all back together, I'm going to put a brand new spark plug into it. The reason I put the old spark plug is in it because I had WD-40 in it, and I didn't want to get the WD-40 oil, or if you used Marvel Mystery Oil or whatever, I didn't want to get it over the new plug. And, you know, a new plug should be brand new, not having a bunch of oil flung all over it. So it's good now, nice and dry, so this thing's going to cool down, and then I'm going to put the new plug in that. And I'll do the same with the chainsaw. I will put the old plug back in, run it, because I'm going to get one with another plug and an air cleaner and stuff. And once I get that all set, I'll put the new plug in it. And if I start this up tomorrow, I might look, if it doesn't rev up right, I may go back and readjust that high speed again. But I set the baseline. It should be okay where it's at. So the Mantis and the blower are done. Alright, just wanted to throw that at you. I'm just about out of a battery. Again. Alright, bye. Hello. So here we are, Saturday morning. Rain last night. Back deck and outside is like frozen. It's ice out. It's supposed to be up to 50 today, so that's going to be gone. It's pretty early in the morning. Early in the morning for me, it's like 9:30. for a Saturday. Well, this chainsaw is really throwing me a curve. And I'm going to show you why. Here in this. That's why I kind of saved it for last. It was the oldest, but it sat the longest. But now we have parts problems. And this is nothing new. When it comes to chainsaws, I've worked on them over the years, but you can really end up with some interesting facts or problems. So as you can see here, there's one lever here. This lever is for the choke. See? That lever pulls. Oh, gee, that lever pulls the choke. Okay? And back in there, there's another lever, and that's the throttle. See it moving? So it has two levers on this one side. Well, the problem is when I research the model number on this, and I bought two carburetors from Amazon, one for the Mantis, one for the Homelite blower. Perfect match. So I put the number in, comes up with a carburetor. It has one lever on, you noticed, just two levers on one side. It comes up with one lever on one side for the choke. And then when you come to the back, there's not another lever for the throttle. I'm thinking, wow, that's weird. So I go to YouTube. I find the exact same saw with all the markings. It looks the exact same thing. One video is of them changing the gas lines. It's like, okay. So look at that video. It has two levers on it. We show them the carburetor. You can see the front choke one and the back throttle one on the right hand side. So I'm like, well, that's weird. Okay, so I looked at another video, one with a scored piston, and they show them taking all the parts off it to get the jug off it to replace the piston and clean it up. Well, on that video I watched them taking the carburetor off, and they show how to disconnect the choke lever and how to manipulate the carburetor once you slide it off to take off the throttle side, and that on the right side has two levers. But everything I research according to the serial number or the model number comes up with one lever for the choke. So somewhere in making this chainsaw, they changed the carburetor. So I went researching. I must have looked at 40 carburetors. I spent like 5 hours on this last night. I didn't get to bed till like 1:30. So I researched this from, I don't know what time I started, about 7 or 8, whenever I was done with this here, looking for a carburetor that has the same levers as this. I even went to Craftsman, which Craftsman does some use their Craftsman name on other. Craftsman would put their name on this instead of Homelite. It would say Craftsman, and they would brand it as theirs, and it had Homelite parts in it. So basically, I went that route, and I still couldn't find. So I cannot find a carburetor with the levers on both sides like this anywhere on the internet. Now, was this some kind of early run that they experimented with this? The only thing I can think of is that maybe Homelite decided we're going to try this new little chainsaw and see how it works. And then they found that people were buying them up and they liked them because they're out there. And somehow in their product deal, their line and their distribution of this, they change carburetors. That's the only thing I can think of. They changed to the one lever on the one side, and maybe they ran something or another little bent wire up in there to because there's a throttle on the other side. There's a lever on the other side that they could. It has a hole in it that you could hook another bent wire around it to run the throttle. So I thought, well, okay, well, gee whiz. So I started looking for schematics on this. All the schematics show this model number as the levers on the right hand side. They don't show one with just the choke on one side and a throttle on the other side. I don't know. I mean, it's used, whatever. So I'm going to take the muffler off it and see how the piston looks. If it's all scored up, then there's no sense in me even bothering to do this. But if not, I'm going to take the carburetor apart and put it back together and see if the thing will run. That's all I can do. And if I can get it to run and it runs well, I just give it to Keith and tell him to run it till it doesn't run anymore, and then throw it away and buy a new one. So at least I can see if I can get it running for him to he can use it up to its last existence and get his money's worth out of it. So that's where I'm at on that one. It's I've run into carburetor on chainsaw problems. It's usually levers or parts or trying to find a coil for them. It just seems to be a real dilemma. And it's not. I've had really pretty good luck with Homelites. It's usually the other off-brand chainsaws that I've run across that you could buy from, Home Depot or Lowe's or, Walmart or whatever. Some funky brand that's made in some other country. I'm not saying that anything anymore is always, all the parts come from China, so there's nothing American anymore. Not too many things. I'm sure there are a few things out there that's actually made in America, but it may be made in America, but it's got Chinese or Asian parts all over it. So, and that's what it is. It's cheaper. It's cheaper for companies to buy those parts to build things to sell. That's just what it is. All right, so my next video will be this, seeing if we can get it started and running and all that fun stuff. So let's go through our procedure. Switch is on. Primer bulb 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. All right. 50 engine throttle lock. Engine throttle lock. Choke. We'll choke all the way out. Oh, half position. Okay. Right. Pull it until it putts and then push it in. Okay. The choke lever. Choke lever's half the way out. Alright, let's see if we can get that out, huh? Well, that's unexpected. Started right up. So I must have cleaned out what needed. It was a little dirty inside the carburetor, but not too bad. Alright, let's see if it starts up again. There you go. Another one done. Okay, put the cover on it, call it a day. Alright, so that's cool. All 3 are done. So another one in the video. I'll have to go do a bunch of editing. Keith will be happy to get all his equipment back today. So this is Selling Guy 60. Another one in the video archives, and I don't know. You'll have to use that chainsaw up until she dies, or he dies, or she dies, or it dies, and throw it away and get a new one. All right. Be nice to your neighbor.